do something different with their career and put their expertise in beyond the paperwork, beyond the drafting, beyond the casework.
It can be replicated over and over again and give you the same results. And then once you perfect that one thing, then you can build upon that one thing and spread out and fan out.
There's some money to be made there for paralegals that want to step into consulting. All right. Hello, Miss Eda Rosa. I'm so excited to have you on my podcast finally. It's been way too long. I don't know why I haven't gotten you on here yet. We go way back. I have followed your journey since my journey began. So excited to have you on the podcast. And really what I want this podcast today to be is you're the CEO of Paralegal yourself. You are an entrepreneur. You are doing so many things in law firms, in your paralegal work. So I really want to deep dive just into your world of being a paralegal entrepreneur, the services you offer, the things you have coming up. But let's just start with, because I know your background, but some of my listeners might not. Just a little bit of a background on you and, into your paralegal entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah. So thank you so much for having me on. Yes, it's been way too long. I'm so happy that we can catch up, even if it's on recording. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was funny because I was deemed the CEO paralegal and it wasn't a name that I gave myself. A lot of people thought that was like my, like a pitch or like an advertisement thing, right? Yeah. But it actually transpired through a LinkedIn post that I did. And everybody kept saying, "Oh my God, you're such a CEO. You're such a CEO." And then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, I like that. The CEO paralegal." So therein it was born, and I was able to use that for my speaking engagements. And it's pretty cool to hear that on stage when, before you hear your name. So I like it. I'm getting used to it. It's pretty recent. It's only been 2 years. Yeah. But my background, to answer your question directly, I started as a billing clerk, at a law firm. I worked my way up, and within the year, I was already litigating heavy files. And so the way I see it is that if you answer the right questions or ask the right questions or are the question, I always say stay curious. I would stay late at the law firms, and I would pretty much follow all the paralegals that were like the go-to paralegals that the attorneys were always going to. I would just ask them, "Hey, what do you do? How do you handle things? What made you this person?" I did that for a whole year until I finally was a paralegal myself, officially litigating files. And so the more I got curious, the more I started learning. Then I, topped that off with I'm going on my 5th degree now. I graduated in August with my master's.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then I'm heading on for my doctorants and probably take a year break, but definitely going for my doctorants again. I mean, I love, obviously, education. It's kind of my jam. It's what I do. It's my brand. And then it started off just offering virtual paralegal services. As soon as I left the tail end of my full-time, paralegal career. And I said, I kind of want to do this on my own. I saw my daughter's picture. She was barely a year old. And I said, I want to do something different. I think I've already extended my stay here long enough. I've done what I could with this firm. And so I want to do it for other firms in a virtual setting where I can spend more time with my baby. So that's what I did for about 2 to 3 years. I started just offering virtual paralegal services to multiple law firms and learning how to navigate all that on my own because there was no one like us at that time. And we're talking about 7 years ago. And so, we went from there. I did the virtual remote for pretty much full time. I was working full time, because it's 24/7 when you become an entrepreneur. And then I said, I want to do something else, right? Because that's what we do. We pivot, we grow, and we continue to grow our skills, our personalities, our personal, professional life in every way, shape, or form. And I empower that, I embrace that. And so I received this opportunity from one of my clients, paralegals. And she was at the Broward College. And she was studying to be a paralegal. She was doing her paralegal studies program and they needed a speaker. And so she offered she asked me if I would like to come in and speak in front of the paralegals. And so turned into what you know now, right? Let's Talk Paralegal, Limitless Paralegals. And that's really where my passion for legal education came in. I saw the impact that I was doing for these future paralegals, not only inside the classroom, but outside. I started mentoring and coaching and all the good stuff. And really, that's where the Let's Talk Paralegal Limitless kind of idea was birthed. Obviously, the bread and butter, though, how I make my money on a daily basis is law firm consulting. So I offer the same training I do to the paralegals. I offer it in a law firm setting, and we obviously assist them with process development, operations management, human resource, team building, whatever they need at that time, because every law firm needs something different at different times. But yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell. I've compressed over 22 years of my life in 5 minutes, but yeah, that's pretty much overall what happened.
Yeah, no, and that was a big reason, having myself be familiar with your story and sort of how you went from working in firm to having a baby. I know you and I connected on that. We both were pushed into entrepreneurship with our mothership. That's even a word, our mothership.
Yes.
And how it translated. But a big reason why I really wanted to talk and pick your brain for the listeners is that you went from, obviously you were in firm and then you started a virtual paralegal business, which a lot of my listeners, that's where they're at right now. They're either transitioning into it or they've started it, they've gotten a few clients, but they have a hard time envisioning the possibility of more. They have a hard time envisioning even going beyond the freelance work. Now, freelancing in itself is incredibly lucrative for paralegals that are successful at it and commit to it. But I think so many paralegals want to do something different with their career and put their expertise in beyond the paperwork, beyond the drafting, beyond the casework, and look at bigger picture. And that's just totally where CEO Paralegal works for you, because And I remembered, I'm going to deviate for a second, because I remember you used to call CEO as the chief of everything officer. And
yes, that's exactly what it stands for. Yeah.
And that's sort of what you have to be in your business as you start to grow it. But really wanting to talk about that transition. And later, I really want to talk about your coaching and your teaching, your events that you put on, but the virtual paralegal into more of the consulting role, that being your true bread and butter. Because when you started, I'm sure you felt the same way I did. There's no way some attorney is going to exchange money to me to tell them what to do to grow their law firm. How am I going to get them to believe in my strategy or my opinions or my suggestions? How did you kind of break from doing just that virtual paralegal drafting into that truly you're coming into firms and helping develop their business around all of those things, getting into that consultant role? Because there's some money to be made there for paralegals that want to step into consulting. So tell me a little bit about how that transition transpired.
Well, again, I think it happened with the same client. The client kind of saw my skills already and overheard the conversation that I was speaking at this at the Broward College, and really received some interest as to what more I can offer him versus just the paralegal services. And so I said, absolutely, I can help you with your processes. I see you're having difficulties here and there. And I already knew their process. I was already working for him for about 3 years at that point. And so that's really where my first, my feet got wet. With a client that I already knew my services, that I already knew my responsibilities, and that he could count on me, right? So he kind of gave me what I call the first shot, right? He gave me that test run that I really, really needed. And I always suggest that to people. Have it with somebody that you're comfortable with, that you've had a working relationship with. You're not just going to come inside somebody's door and be like, yeah, that's me, I'm going to do everything for you. No. There's a lot to learn. Just like when you were learning and transitioning from full-time to freelance, you're going to have to learn how to kind of transpire and transfer from the freelance role to the consulting role. It's a whole different ballgame. And just like freelance, where you start deciding what type of services you want to offer, because freelance is such a broad way. You can offer just drafting, you can offer client services, you can offer just however you want to do it, or you can be the full service, right? From intake to settlement. However you're offering your freelance services, it's kind of the same mindset that you're going to have to do in order to transition from freelance to consulting. What consulting are you actually offering, right? So we focus on something that I noticed that no other consultant offers out there, which is the training of the staff, right? What I know best is what paralegals do, receptionists, intake, everything else. So I started focusing on that. And that's really was my big sell, because I noticed that all my law firm consultants out there did not realize that it's such an intricate portion of the process and operations and everything else that comes with it. You can invest as much as you want in marketing. You can invest as much as you want in whatever it is, advertisement, hiring the superstar paralegal. You can do all of that. But if your staff doesn't know what to do with it, doesn't know what to do with that process, and doesn't know how to handle those new clients and handle all the things that are coming in, then it's all for nothing, right? Because if you can't handle the business that's coming in due to your other investment, you have to invest in the staff and prepare them for what's about to come. Mm-hmm. And that was my biggest sell, right? My sell was, we got to focus on the team, make sure you have a strong team, so that when you do, invest in the marketing and the process and the CRMs and the KPIs and all the things that come with the law firm business aspect of it, they're prepared.
Absolutely. No, and there's so much to be said about that. And finding, and I say this over and over, and I feel like it always comes up in every single episode, to just reiterate, when you can find a problem, even one problem, I think so many people are like, oh my gosh, and myself included, oh my gosh, if I wanted to be a consultant, I need to know all the things about, the financial aspect. I need to know cash management, cash flow. I need to know marketing, business development, all those things, generating referrals, all the things that come into growing a business for a law firm. If you can just focus on one area in a firm that you feel very confident in, sometimes that's case management implementation and execution. Sometimes that's just the intake department. Focusing on those tiny little pieces, if there's something that a paralegal is very good at, can build. And do you agree with the thought of even though you had that firm experience, you were in firm for however long you were, you were in there. How much you learn just by going virtual and working with a multitude of firms and seeing consistent issues with each firm that you can start to build a consulting practice around. That was me too, is what I started learning with my virtual paralegal work, and then turning into a staffing agency and talking about the firm's staffing gaps and where we need to put new people here, there, be strategic about it. I was consulting naturally just by my experience and working with all these firms over the years. Now it's just about, then it's about monetizing it and saying, okay, now, like you said, grabbing that first firm that you feel comfortable with, you already know very well, and start to build out your own consulting program around what you've learned with that client and sort of testing it out and giving it a shot. And do you feel that too, that, just having gone freelance, you learn so much in a year working with multiple firms than you could have over 5 years with one firm? It's incredible what you learn.
Absolutely. And you're on your own, right? Mm-hmm. So there's not really, it's all a learning curve. And back to what you were saying, yes, it's a stepping stone. I don't think I would have automatically gone to consulting without doing the freelance portion first, right? Because you have to kind of see where your niche is. If you're really good at intake, go for the intake. If you're really good at litigation, go for it. And litigation, as far as civil, criminal, two different monsters, federal, whatever it is, we all have our niche. I always say, I know it's really bad to say niche it down, but sometimes it's necessary in order to perfect it. And then once you perfect that one thing, then you can build upon that one thing and spread out and fan out. But you have to perfect it to the point where it can be replicated over and over again and give you the same results. It's called the McDonald's effect. If any of you have not read the book E-Myth, please do. E-Myth is awesome. They even have a law firm version for us in the legal industry. It's amazing. And it changed my world. It came right at the nick of time when I was transitioning from freelance to consulting. And I really needed that mindset shift, right? Because sometimes we're very hesitant. We question ourselves a lot, especially as females and parents in general. And so I kind of needed that a little oomph and encouragement.
And so what does a day in the life of Eda Rosa, the CEO paralegal, look like now? And that's why I wanted to point out the chief of everything. And I think we are all in the beginning, the chief of everything as we go into entrepreneurship. But then breaking into scaling that business, start bringing in people to support us. So what does a day in the life look like for you? What's your team structure like? How have you scaled into this format of business over the course of 7 years?
I have to say I have an amazing team. I do train them though. So they go through a 90-day intensive training. If they don't cut it, they don't make it. And so that's really how it is. I have to be the person where I can literally remove myself and the business can continue running, or else you're not running a business, you just have a job.
Yep.
So understanding that reality was really hard for me to let go of my baby that I created and I birthed. So understanding that, that I was going through those motions, it was an easy decision when I found myself working at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and not being able to put my kids to bed at night. So I was very cognizant of the fact that it was time, so I did. I have a virtual assistant. I have a marketing assistant. I have a podcast manager. We're onboarding a couple other positions right now. And then later on, our long-term plan is to bring in more consultants such as myself, which is where the Limitless Paralegal program comes in. But understanding that, the training portion is really, I still need my voice to be heard throughout every transaction. So if you're going to speak to my client, my followers, my audience, I really need you to speak in my voice, not your voice, because this is literally Eda Rosa LLC.
Yep.
Like quite literally, that is the name of the game. I am the brand, right? Most of our advertisement has my face on it, even though we do have a logo, we have a pretty website, the whole 9 yards. But at the end of the day, you are the brand, right? People come to you because they know you, they know who you are, they know they've heard you on the podcast or seen you on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, LinkedIn. In my case, most of my people come from LinkedIn. So training my staff was very, very essential for me. But what was I going to train them on? So before you even hire, make yourself a business plan, right? Make yourself what am I going to give my virtual assistant to do on a day-to-day basis? What am I going to give my marketing assistant? What are the tools I'm going to provide them? Am I going to provide them anything, or am I just going to let them just run willy-nilly? Like whatever format you're thinking about. These are the questions you need to ask yourself before you're even in that position, because once you're in the grunt of it, you're not going to see, right? You don't see the forest in the trees. So understanding that is really relative. But back to your question, a day in the life of me, we have 2 days that are solely just consulting. That's all we do, which is typically Tuesdays and Thursdays. And all I do is consult, whether it's virtual, go to the office, whatever it is, I'm consulting. I'm providing my consulting services. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we work on the company, right? So we have team meetings. My assistant kind of brings me up and tells me, this is what's going on. You have a couple meetings here, you have a couple meetings there, you have a podcast recording, whatever the case may be. She kind of briefs me on the week. And then we kind of go from there and see what we need to move around, if anything, especially if I'm traveling. My assistant was really good at identifying those pinpoints. So she manipulated my calendar to where I don't have podcast recordings at a certain time, right? Or I have an in-person meeting, but she puts into consideration my travel time if it's in person. So she Google Maps everything and make sure that even with traffic, I'll get there on time. And so really having those little detailed oriented person by my side is amazing. She was very new to the virtual assistant thing, but that's how I like them, because I'm able to kind of just pour it in the pot and mix it myself and create a mold. For my marketing assistant, I wanted somebody a little more seasoned because I needed new ideas. I needed new innovation, especially now with the rebranding. I need something fresh. I need something updated and upgrading, and somebody that I can powwow with. So I needed somebody a little more seasoned. But yeah, it's very dependent on what you're trying to accomplish in that position, right? So that's really how you scale and you build your team members, yourself, your business, everything else in a nutshell.
That's such a good segue, because I was going to say, it sounds like you've been very intentional about 2 things you mentioned. What is proprietary to your business? It's what's in your brain in this service industry and the consulting space. What is proprietary is what you have learned, but that's something that you have to train into your team as you want to scale beyond yourself, which is totally possible, obviously, in the consulting space, as well as paralegals that want to freelance and they don't want to build an agency or a team model. They just want to build, support around themselves so they can take more work. It's you have to, first and foremost, like you said, know what it is to run your business on every angle. So you brought up Limitless Paralegals, and I totally want to talk about it because I'm so excited. For those of you that have not found out yet, Eda has an amazing event happening for paralegals. It's October 12th. I'm going to be there. So I'm so excited to be able to meet Eda in person. I have a little speaking topic that I'm going to do there and then get to mingle with everybody. What I think is so cool, Eda, is that there's not a lot of events for paralegals like this, if any, right? That are just truly for paralegals that want to explore other career opportunities beyond just getting better at drafting an estate plan or getting brought up to speed on the new legislation that's passed through, like your traditional CLEs. We don't have conferences, summits about us growing as individuals. Talk about that, because I'm so excited for this event and I'm excited to hear about your vision behind this.
I mean, I don't know, it kind of morphed, right? Like we did a powwow early on. I think it was like the first year running where it was fully virtual. There was no overhead costs. So we didn't have to worry about sponsorships or feeding the people or like even charging at that point, right? I think I charged ridiculous low amount. I think it was like $10 or something for our first one because it was like all virtual. Like I was like, I felt bad even charging, but whatever, it is what it is. And so we did it at like $10. It was completely virtual. We had over 200 attendees, which was amazing. And so it was really great. And, and Missy as well. So us three, we kind of powwowed it out. And then I think you and I created the actual name. And then from there, the first year in person, which was technically our second year running, I learned a few things, right? And they weren't bad, actually. I was like, oh, this is actually a really, like, it wasn't even a negative feedback, just the people wanted more, right? They wanted more of the speaker. They wanted them more on stage. They wanted it more hands-on. And so that's not really like a bad thing, right? So I was like, all right, cool. So we're going to bring in less speakers so that they have more time to speak, but we need to pick topics that are going to assist them in what I call the evolution, right? I want them to morph into something that they probably never thought they would. One of our questions was, well, what would you have wanted more, if anything, from this event? And yeah, like I said, more time with the speakers and everything else. But there was this one comment that I'll never forget that I actually saved it in our feedback manual. And it said, actually, I didn't even know what I needed until I went to Limitless. And I was just like, that's amazing, right? That's amazing. I'm like, that is so great. I think I did my job and it was great, right? They want more time. They want more hands-on. So I'm going to morph this into like a workshop mindset. I'm going to put in all the things, and that way everybody can kind of come out with something, right? Whether you're into the mindset thing, we're doing it first thing in the morning. So if you're not a morning person and you want to skip it, great, no harm, no foul. But, it's great to like kind of prepare you for the day. It's going to be a long day, but we're going to party, we're going to eat, we're going to learn. And we handpick our speakers. They have to, as you know, they have to go through a very long application. I think it's like 3 pages. I don't think I made you do it, but it's like 3 pages long.
I would have done it. That's okay.
Yeah, I know. It's like 3 pages long because if we don't know you, if we haven't worked with you, we want that, right? We want to work with you. We want to know you before we bring you onto our platform and kind of see who you are. This year, everybody pretty much I've worked with before, and we have a couple of the speakers that were last year coming back. I didn't just want it to end at a conference or a summit. I wanted to create like this limitless community, right? Pretty much going to be, okay, now you're in our pool, now you're in our community. And now, if ever you are looking to transition to consulting or the next step from freelancing, then you're more than welcome to join our program, which is a 1-year program. And it has a curriculum and textbooks and everything. It's pretty intense because we want to make sure that you're going to be prepared for everything and that anything that's thrown at you, you'll be ready for. So,
right. Of course. No, that's amazing. And that is a great segue to allow people to come, just like you said, that feedback. I didn't even know what I needed until I came. So they get to go to an event like this. You do not have it priced high at all. What is it? 99 to 99 bucks.
Yeah, it's like $95
for the full day event. Perfect. Pricing for people to say, hey, I want to go explore what other people are doing in this industry and how I can, push my career into some way or the other. that doesn't necessarily, from what it looks like in your lineup of speakers, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to go into entrepreneurship, but it's also an event where you can look into what I call it. Well, I didn't come up with the word, but the intrapreneurship, in where you want to start exploring. I mean, the world of law firms is changing so rapidly in the positions that are being hired, the positions that are being advanced, even in your solo small firms, into management roles, into operations roles, beyond just paralegal work. So that's where that Limitless is such a good name for that, because it's, the limits are endless. Which direction lights you up the most? And here's a community to help support you in a program thereafter if you decide, yes, this is the direction I want to go. And I'm so excited for it. It's in Miami area, right? It's Coconut Creek.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that area.
It's more Fort Lauderdale than Miami, like Las Olas, Riverfront area, which is really nice. It's a pretty area. It's still beachy. It's quieter than Miami. It's a little less hectic, but if you want to hop on the train, you're only 30, 40 minutes away. So you can hop on the train versus taking an Uber. You know, we handpicked the topics again. So I kind of picked something that I knew was going to benefit any legal professional, regardless of where they're at in the industry, in their career, whether they're on step 1 or step 100. We're definitely talking about AI and technology. A whole segment on that with Emily, which she's phenomenal. She's like runs the Women e-Discovery, Association. Wow. And for those interested in branding and personalizing their brands and things like that, we have a whole segment on that. But the branding starts now, like even if you are a full-time paralegal, I hit up my network. That's how I built my freelance paralegal business.
And I was excited to see Rogo being on there. She's been on my podcast. She's awesome. Well, and just to further the conversation around that conference and why I think it's so powerful for paralegals to finally see these things coming out, is the more you surround yourself with go-getters, with people that are here to empower you, or people that want to just be with you while you empower each other, the more it builds your confidence. We are paralegals. We're here to make a mark in the industry, and we should, right? Yeah. So I think that too is just surrounding yourself with people that want empowerment. And I think that's what this Limitless conference is going to be. I'm so excited.
I mean, you're only as good as the 5 people around you.
Yes.
My dad always used to say that. He's like, if you surround yourself with 5 people, that's who you become. You feed off that energy. So understanding that is a reality, so really be conscious of that. And that you always, if you're a parent, you have little eyes, staring at you, and they're really emulating that, and they're really embracing whatever mommy and daddy are doing. My daughter loves to say, welcome to Eda Rosa, LLC.
Oh, that is so funny, because my son, now he'll hear my phone ring and he'll, before I even answer, say, hi, this is Jacqueline, because he hears me say that, or hello, this is Jacqueline. It's so funny how they did.
Yeah, they just, one day my husband thought it was funny and got her a little suit, because I have an all black suit it's like my go-to suit, because you can wear anything you want under it and it looks fine. Yeah. So he got her a little black suit with a matching top, with the colors of the business, and he got all the branding, right? And then he sits her at my desk. Mind you, she's 7 now. She'll be 8 in July. But at this moment, she was around 5. And so she's 5 years old. She's on my desk. And I think I have a picture. I'll send it to you. But, and she's on the mic, and she's like, thank you. She's like, thank you for joining the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. I'm Eda. Welcome. And she's like, oh, like she's only 5. And it was so cute. How, they see that. No, like he wasn't coaching her. She's like, I want to play dress up, is how it came out. And then he's like, okay, who do you want to dress up as? And she goes, I want to dress up as mommy, and I want to talk on her mic.
And just to one time hit back on that kid thing, it's like exactly what we were saying. The more you surround yourself with people that are empowering you, your 5-year-old is being empowered by you. She's already got confidence to show up on a podcast at 5 years old and talk like she's done this her whole life, It's like amazing. The more you're just surrounded, because sometimes, and I've had people come on my podcast that they're like, I've never done this before, I'm so nervous. I'm like, oh, I'll loosen you up. Give me 5 minutes. Like, we're fine. Just the more, and that's how you start building that confidence, which is then when your personal brand just comes naturally. And you should do a photo shoot with your daughter.
We actually are. We're going to do one in September. her when we rebrand because we are
Yes.
rebranding the company. So I am going to have her on with our new books and things like that. So that actually was a conversation I had with her. Now she'll be 8 by then.
Well, my last question I have for you, Eda, this has been an amazing episode. And I told you, no, there's not going to be any scripting here, but I do want to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Is if you had one piece of advice to give to somebody currently considering entrepreneurship, freelancing, what have you, that is either just starting out, kind of struggling, getting going, or haven't made the leap yet, for fear factor, for whatever reasons, what one piece of advice do you think that you would give them that would waterfall and make everything else fall into place?
Remove your obstacles. Ask yourself why. Why are you scared? Why are you hesitant? Why are you not making that move? There's something else there that you need to dig into to remove your obstacle. I talk about this in the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast, not podcast, the book. I have a whole chapter on that, on how to remove your obstacle, because that's what happened to me. It took me so long. I was 15 years in as a full-time paralegal to finally do something that I always wanted to do. And I just made excuse after excuse. I'm a mom, I'm getting married, this, that. Like every year it was something. I'm still in college. I'm still doing this. I'm still doing that. I still need to learn a little more. And you know, we love to make excuses. Love to make excuses. And at the end of the day, there's a solution to every problem. So find your obstacle, remove it. Life is simple. We just make it complicated.
Right. One foot in front of the other. And is it Rumi's quote? Begin, I'm going to butcher it, but it's begin on the path and the path will appear.
Will appear. Yeah.
I think that's such a powerful quote, you know, to your point, remove those obstacles so you can begin, you know,
you have to, because
begin and you'll learn
you know,
along
we get
the way.
stuck. We get stuck, you know.
Absolutely. That's fabulous advice. And I appreciate it. Eda, thank you so much for joining us, me and us, the listeners. And I'm going to link up for everybody listening, the Limitless Paralegal Conference. You can go sign up, get your ticket, and come have a drink with me.
Yes,
And
we're gonna have drinks. We'll have breakfast. We'll have lunch. We'll have a dance party. So it's gonna be fun.
How exciting. Well, thank you so much, Eda. And like I said, I will link up all the information. I'm sure most of my listeners are already following Eda, but I'll link up her LinkedIn. Her podcast is Let's Talk Paralegal. It's easy to search. If you just type paralegal, it'll come in.
Yes.
And then her Instagram, she's fun to follow on Instagram too. So make sure you go find her. And
I always have little funny videos every once in a while.
Yeah, you do. They make my day. Stuff. They make my day. So, all right. Thank you so much, Eda. And we'll see you at the Limitless Paralegal Conference.
Yay, I'm so excited.
All right. Thank you.